Welcome to Tibetv's weekly analysis. Tibet studies is by and large attributed to Tibetan Buddhism for many non-Tibetan Tibetologists. Today, let us focus on how Tibetan Buddhism plays an indispensable role in encouraging aspiring young Indian researchers to study Tibet studies. To discuss on this subject, I have with me Dr. Kaveri Gill, who is an academic and interested in Nalanda-based Tibetan Buddhist philosophy. Dr. Kaveri Gill is currently an associate professor at Department of International Relations and Governance Studies, School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Shifnada University. Welcome to Tibettv, Dr. Kaveri Gill.
Thank you.
Dr. Kaveri Gill, my first question is, what does Tibet studies mean to you, and how must it be taken forward in India?
So for me, Tibet studies is everything to do with Tibet, both dharma and non-dharma. And in fact, how can one even make the distinction in the context of a culture where the genesis of its very language is related to, the Tibetan Buddhist philosophy? So with that, I would say Tibet studies is everything to do with Tibet, its philosophy, its culture, its language, its environment, its politics, all of it. That's the first. Second, I would relate Tibet studies to wider Himalayan studies, because that is the context. And India and Tibet has a very old relationship going back centuries. We know that. So, and today, of course, India is the seat of the Tibetan struggle for autonomy since 1959. So to answer your question on how we would take forward Tibet studies in India, I would say on all fronts. Academic institutions, monastic institutions, friendship between Tibetans and Indians in all contexts. That is how I would proceed.
Ma'am, as you know, there are a growing number of Indian researchers getting interested in Tibet studies. And how should they look at it apart from geopolitical scenario? And what are your guiding words for young Indian researchers?
So thank you for that. And I would say that it's great that Indians have finally woken up, in the sense that His Holiness has been residing here since 1959. And I have to say a lot of the really good scholarship in this area can be credited to Westerners. Prior to now, as you say, in contemporary times, a lot of Indians are getting interested. I think they come at it from various facets. So, of course, you're right, Tibetan Buddhist philosophy, it's highly attractive. So it has pulled in a lot of people to do research, on Tibet studies. But I would say in today's times, there are, younger scholars who are coming in looking at questions of the environment, looking at questions, of course, of geopolitics, and before this entire Ladakh issue with China, I think even before that. So I think, there is a lot of possibilities there. And I think not just younger Indians, but even younger Tibetans, younger Ladakhis, Himalayan region, all of us have to come together in order to take forwards, what we would see as a very precious kind of area of study. And I would say here that my one advice would be to publish more, write more, do more. Indians love chatting, and I am also one of them. So I think we need to actually get down to some hard work. If you look at the work of people like Jeffrey Hopkins and everything, they learn the language, they translate books, they are very, very hardworking. So I think the task before all of us is one of that.
Dr. Kaveri, you have and are extensively studying Nalanda or Tibetan Buddhist philosophy as a part of your interests. When you look at today's world, what makes this philosophy relevant in tackling contemporary challenges?
So I have been very interested in Nalanda philosophy for more than 5 years. I've been a student of Tibet House, Delhi, with Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdol, who's actually running a one-man university. He's, I think, educated more than 1,500 students in total, I would say, in the last years. So the reason that Nalanda philosophy is so critical and its appeal to the whole world is, number one, the way it delves into the nature of the mind and psychology. I do not think there's another tradition that goes as deep. The second is, of course, its focus on the nature of existence and our understanding of it, right? So the ontological and epistemological reality. Now, if you look at His Holiness's teachings during COVID, people have been asking him for solutions, and he's always saying that in the end, it is a long-term solution that is required. And what does he mean? Because I think finally our contemporary problems are rooted in ignorance, as Arya Nagarjuna puts it, from ignorance, then inappropriate attention, then giving objective characteristics to things as good or bad, and from that we take certain actions and afflictions, and that is how the whole of this, in a way, samsara operates. So I think unless we tackle this root, this ignorance, and in that context, I think Nalanda philosophy has a lot of value to the world today. It is not just for Tibetans or for Indians. I think it is a real treasure for the world, and we must preserve it.
Dr. Kaveri, now I have a very important question. His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama's fourth commitment is revival of ancient Indian wisdom. So how important is this commitment, and what roles should Indians and Tibetans shoulder in order to fulfill this commitment of His Holiness?
So I would say, His Holiness is skillful as ever, extremely skillful. So if you look at what His Holiness has achieved, this book by Tenzin Geshe just came out, look at the history of what all has been achieved since 1959, I would say largely within India, and against all odds, right? But of course, as Nari Rinpoche says in the introduction, the world wouldn't have known the comet that is His Holiness, the comet of our times, if it had not been for the tragedy of 1959. Now, what is our role? Ancient Indian wisdom traditions, and I will speak about the Nalanda tradition because that's what I would know best. It is a repository of highly sophisticated and applicable knowledge, practical knowledge on the mind, on how to, act and behave and think. And if we do not preserve it, so Tibetans have been preserving it for more than 1,000 years, carefully translating it, keeping all our texts. Now, we need to, as Indians, also again take up the mantle, because of course Buddha Shakyamuni was born here, and we need to kind of, take some responsibility for our tradition. And I think together, younger Tibetans, the younger generation of Tibetans and Indians, we have a huge responsibility, because I think previous generations have really done a lot. And in this sense, I would want to say here that, even single institutions, like, for example, Tibet House now, we have these teaching programs, and, we are coming out. This is entry into the middle way, Acharya Chandrakriti's, Madhyamika Avtara. There are 8 transcripts of this size coming from, Geshe-la's teachings and things. So I think translation projects, CIHTS in Varanasi is doing, like on the works of Rahul Sanskritayan and many others, back translating. So we have a lot of work to do, and I think it's really important. And so His Holiness's fourth commitment is critical, and again, not just for Tibetans at all. It's for all of us.
His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama advises the importance of secular ethics and also proposes the inclusion of secular ethics as a part of curricula to educate young minds. So question is, from your experience teaching such an approach at university level, how would the practice of secular ethics promote a harmonious society?
So again, here I would say that, His Holiness always has foresight far beyond, others. So his idea that, values are like water and religion is like tea. So I think religion, the values of all religion are very similar and profound. But to be honest, in today's world, religion is often a political weapon, and a lot of the violence that we are facing is in the name of religion. So then comes the question, younger generations have a lot of challenges that we did not. I would say technology with all its benefits, but also its downsides, climate change, the economy they are going into, it's a kind of a world depression, like since we saw at, during the interwar period and post-war period, the 1930s, when Keynes and everything came up with his ideas of the welfare state, the world has entered into that kind of a period. We are highly interdependent. These problems cannot be tackled without a sense of ethics and self-discipline. So then the question comes, how do you cultivate these ethics in a secular or non-religious kind of a perspective? And I think there His Holiness's ideas that, you think of our common humanity, just like me, everybody else wants happiness and does not want suffering. And also our deeply interconnected reality. And if we can think of these two things and then look at, compassion and wisdom in order to kind of tackle our problems, I think, the younger generations, this appeals to them a lot because there is reasoning involved, there is a scientific perspective involved, and they don't have to believe in anything. And I think we have to think about it very hard because, I am an academic and I see that, we go through education, but at times you don't get schooling in what are the most important things that you are going to have to confront in life, right? So I think this secular ethics idea is something that that can be melded into every discipline that youngsters are being taught, whether it's science, humanities, social sciences. And in a way there's no difference then how you pursue your major or minor, and then this overarching concept on who we are, why do we do what we do, and how to do it well.
Okay, ma'am, before we wrap up our discussion, would you like to give any message for Tibetans for their Losar celebration?
Oh, I would just like to say Losar Tashidele, and I hope that this year is kinder for everybody, all Semchen, not just, in one particular place. And to younger Tibetans, I would like to say that, we really, we meaning also younger Indians, we together take forward the mission of His Holiness and, try to make the world a better place together, because we have a deep and long relationship and friendship. And I hope the coming year brings a lot of progress in that direction.
Thank you so much. With this, we're going to end our discussion here. I would like to thank Dr. Kaveri Gill for joining our program. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Kadinche.